Okay, so I am back, but I've got probably the wrong live chat up. So I'm going to shut down the live chat and try and start it up again. So just hang on. What am I doing here? Okay. It's going to just take a couple of seconds. Almost there. Crazy how things were working and then
this, but
now
Amazon actually has a $50 million fund that they have to pay out every single month. And here's how you can get a cut of it. My name is Charlotte Mickelson, and we help everyday people grow their income with this one simple method. And we're pretty darn good at it. Our company, Publishing.com, was named the 19th fastest growing company in America. And the only reason we're so successful is because of the success that we've created for others. And I'll tell you why our method works so much better than anything else you might have tried. It's because starting a business is not the best way for regular people to make more money. And that's what everyone gets wrong. Starting and running a business is hard. It's expensive, it takes a long time, and it requires...
And how does it? That's better. Good. That's good then. And hopefully everything starts to work now, which is okay. Now I'm back. I won't be able to see the live stream on the screen, but I'm back. So it looks like everything is fine. Hello, Monique, Norm, Liz, Neil, Brad, everybody. Looks like hopefully everybody is retuned in and everything is working well. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, there's a lady called Diane Francis who wrote a book. I have a copy of that book. I have two of her books, but only read the one of them. And she talked about the merger of the century, basically Canada and the United States merging together. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because we've talked about it before, is because of all the trolls and the 51st state and all that kind of stuff, and how it's getting under everybody's skin, which is it's a joke. Everybody knows it's a joke, and it's not going to go anywhere. But let's take a listen to or take a look at an article she just recently wrote in the Financial Post. So this is a news article from Diane Francis. I've read actually a couple of her books, and she refers to a book here in this article that she wrote about a decade ago, which I've read. It's basically called, I think it's called The Merger of the Century, and it talks about the merger of Canada and the U.S. So she was a proponent of that, and I believe she still is, but she says that it's unlikely now because of the Republicans not wanting a merger. She describes herself here as a small C Canadian conservative to the left of the Democrats. I'm not sure that's accurate as far as the political spectrum goes. If she is to the left of the Democrats, then I wouldn't call her a small C conservative. I would call her a liberal, but that's just me. She doesn't see herself that way, but so that's all right. But she says that the Canadians or the Americans wouldn't accept us because the amount of Republicans, they would see us as having too much of a leftist point of view. And I can't say that is completely inaccurate. However, I don't think that it would be as dire as what she says. And I'll go into that in just a little bit. She does say, the article basically is, if Trump walks all over Canada, it's because Trudeau made it weak. So she is talking about how he crumpled the economy, but also how he has disillusioned Canadians and has called us a post-national state with no real identity outside of Quebec, which of course she disagrees with. I disagree with. I think most Canadians disagree with that. She's pretty harsh to Trudeau, which is deserved. Trudeau deserves to be, get harsh criticism. But I will link this article in the description of this video, because I do have a lot of respect for what she has to say. She's an economist. Although I don't agree with 100% of what she says, I do agree that Canada and the United States should merge. But what would that look like? Let's talk about that next. So, of course, you can see that she doesn't like Trudeau too much, or she doesn't think too highly of him. And, of course, I don't think too many people nowadays do. But, it is what it is, right? So what do you think Canada would look like? I was thinking that obviously, I would like to see it done purely for financial reasons for the economy. But I mean, there's other benefits to it. Now, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but what would it look like if that were to happen? And I think that I would only really like to see it if it was 10 states, but 10 extra states. But I don't think that would really be realistic, because I got to thinking about it, and the Maritimes, they don't have the population to have 4 states out there, and Manitoba and Saskatchewan probably the same. So I think there would be a little bit of an amalgamation there. I don't think Quebec would actually do it. I think that they would opt out and become their own country, what they, they've been trying to for decades, or at least a portion of that population has been. And I think also that Alberta would probably kind of join with the interior of BC. So, there's a lot of different options what it would look like. But unfortunately, after I got to thinking about it, I just don't think that 10 states would be practical, but I certainly don't think that it would only be 2. I would think that the East Coast would be 1 state, Ontario would be 1 state, maybe Saskatchewan and Manitoba would be 1, or maybe Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, and the interior, BC. And I think that the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island would probably join Washington State. But that's just kind of just thinking off the top of my head. Whether or not that would, ever happen, I don't think it would. I don't think most Canadians would go for it. Although Trudeau's doing his level best to try and break us up. And if he... I think that if anybody destroys the country to the point where it would consider, the majority of Canadians would consider merging with the United States, it would be because of Trudeau. Now, there's other things that could happen. We're getting closer and closer to a world war, and maybe, pissing the Russians off enough that they could decide to call somebody's bluff. But I think that now that Trump has been elected, once he takes power, I think that everything's going to settle down in the world, to be honest with you. I think that the Ukrainian-Russian war is going to be settled, and I think that Gaza is going to be settled fairly quickly. So I don't think we have much to worry about or much to even think about, to be honest with you. But if Trudeau is probably going to be, if he stuck around, will be the death of Canada. Fortunately, we've only got a year left, or 11 months, or whatever, 10 months of him. So, there's that. And I think it would be best if we did merge. economically speaking, also rights and mobility and that kind of stuff. But I know I'm in the minority because I think there was a study done or a poll done, and only about between 16 and 25% or something like that Canadians would think it's a good idea. But I think that's I don't know, it's up in the air. Again, like, I don't think Quebec would come, but they would probably join later. And I think actually, to kind of carry on with that, I think that the Yukon would probably join Alaska. So I don't know, different things, different ways the map could come out. So what I was going to kind of look at next is we're going to talk about the corruption. Okay. What else do we talk about in Canada other than all of the corruption that's happening, or the SDTC scandal and whatnot? Well, there is a Garnet Genius, I'm not sure how maybe he's Genius. And he was in committee and he posted this, which I thought was a great example of how the Liberals never answer a question. And this guy, I actually like to call this guy that he's talking about, Mr. Duclos, I like to call him Count Von Count of Sesame Street, because he likes to count on his fingers here. But let's take a look at this. It's a fairly long clip, but then we'll talk about it a bit.
Minister, if a third-party auditor flags that there's fraud on a particular procurement file and recommends that it be referred to the RCMP, what should the government do in that case? Another fairly easy question, I think.
What it should do is that exactly what you're probably also thinking, is that it should take those allegations very seriously and expect and demand that public service, independently of political interference, do the job that they need to do.
And what is that job? If an independent auditor says there's fraud, we think it should be referred to the RCMP, the public service should then refer it to the RCMP, right?
Yeah, well, the public service
should they?
is a big, not every
Sir,
public
we're still on the easy stuff. If a third-party auditor says that hypothetically a procurement file involving the Canadian Healthcare Agency involved fraud, and that third-party auditor says it in a meeting with multiple public servants from multiple departments, saying we think it involves fraud, we think it should be referred to the RCMP. Should they take it seriously and refer it to the RCMP, or should they take it seriously and try to bury it? What would you suggest?
Well, you spoke about hypothetical, and hypothetical cases are not truly useful cases to discuss in such general terms. I think you need to be more specific as to what exactly you have in mind.
Okay, I have in mind the case this committee heard about this week from Gary Hartle, who was an independent auditor who brought a room full of public servants evidence of Indigenous identity fraud on the government years ago, and recommended that the case be referred to the RCMP. The government decided, in his words, they didn't want any trouble and decided to bury it instead of referring it to the RCMP. Do you think that was a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, MP Janu, this is a great question, which I heard you ask.
And I look forward to a great answer.
Exactly just a few days ago to Minister Aidu, and she provided all the answers that you were correctly expecting of her, because it's in her file, it's her department. You know that because you asked her directly those same questions.
PSPC officials were in the room, sir. Your officials were in the room. I think at a basic level, in terms of setting the tone, now would be a good time for you to advise your officials and the public that when they become aware of instances of fraud, they should refer that fraud to the RCMP. And you seem unwilling to say that.
Je peux le dire en français si en anglais ça fonctionne moins bien. Mais
I can say it in French if it's not working into English. We had a meeting where you were present, Mr. Genouis, with Minister Aidu, and you asked exactly the same question, and she provided you with the proper responses. So if you want to have a conversation with Ms. Ailu, you can do that. But you had that conversation a few months ago.
welcome you. Neither. C'est une question très simple. Si c'est une...
It's a really simple question. So if it's a case of fraud,
and since your officials were in the room, should they have given that information to the RCMP or buried it? And I wonder, frankly, how many other cases are there? But can you just clearly tell your officials and the public that instances of fraud, when officials become aware of them, should be referred to the RCMP? Yes or no?
Répondu à cette question à plusieurs reprises.
I've already addressed the question on several occasions, Mr. Alois, and Ms. Naidu addressed the question on several occasions as well. The same question a few days ago. I think maybe you just have to return and see what her response was. And
so that's kind of. I like Garnett. He's a lawyer. He actually was he was a guy who made that bathtub comment that got Trudeau all worked up there a few weeks back. But he's actually very sharp, and Count Von Count there is just avoiding all questions. It's like they go to school and take a course in how not to answer questions. It's ridiculous. And he, I mean, it's a pretty simple question. Would you call the RCMP? Would you report a fraud? Now, whether it would be the RCMP or Ottawa Police or whomever, it doesn't really matter. The correct answer, of course, would be to call the police if you discover a fraud. And I'm not sure, actually, if the RCMP would have jurisdiction if it happened in Ottawa. Maybe on the Hill, I don't know. That's something. But, it does show why I think that we're having all these problems in that the government they think they're above the law, and they're not going to call the police. They're just going to, ignore the fact that there's a fraud. And he admitted it there by not saying that he would call the police. So he kind of admitted that, well, he's a slimeball, that he doesn't believe that the Trudeau government is accountable to the police. So I wanted to go and play a couple of clips here from question period today, because I found it very interesting what was happening there. Here we have Andrew Scheer starting it off, talking about how essential, and basically he's saying the same thing that Pierre said yesterday, that the economy is being driven right towards a big old cliff.
The Prime Minister has lost control of spending and his cabinet, and the fiscal feud over the $40 billion guardrail is worse than we ever thought. New reports show that the Prime Minister is set to replace Canada's first female finance minister with his old boys network pal, carbon tax Carney. And Canadians are on the bus watching in terror as the Prime Minister is yanking her out of the driver's seat so that Carney can send us smashing through the guardrail and over the cliff. Does the Finance Minister still have her hands on the wheel, and will the deficit be below that $40 billion guardrail?
I think he's nailed it there in what he said about the economy essentially being driven over a cliff, and that Chrystia Freeland is being yanked out of the driver's seat and replaced by carbon tax Carney, and it's a real insult to her. Now, as I said in one of my videos yesterday, she looks like or actually I guess it was posted this morning, she looks awfully stressed out. Not that I have a lot of sympathy for her because of what she has done to our country with the help of Trudeau, but she does look like she's stressed out, like maybe she knows that her days are numbered. He tends to turn on all of his female members of Parliament, let's just play another clip here. This exchange. I really like this lady, Michelle Ferrari. She really knows her stuff as well, and it comes through in this clip.
This fake Feminist Prime Minister is determined to decimate Canadians' lives by destroying the economy, and he will throw anyone under the bus to do it, including his token finance female minister. Canadians know he's weak. They know he's lost control of his cabinet and his spending. The question is, will the first ever female finance minister have the courage to stand up to that fake feminist prime minister and stick to her promised $40 billion deficit?
Mr. Speaker, here's something tangible that the Leader of the Opposition could do. In the next election, he could run more women, and he could get more women in those seats. If he really wants to prove his credibility in terms of standing up for women, let me just give you some stats, Mr. Speaker. In this current House of Commons, 16.9% of the women elected sit here in the Liberal benches. How many in the Conservative benches, Mr. Speaker? 6%. That's the kind of numbers that we are talking about.
Mr. Speaker, on the Conservative side of the House, women stand here because we're skilled and we're allowed to use our voice. Mr. Speaker, Jody Wilson-Raybould is testament to this. That is a fake prime minister, but that is not the point. We're not here to talk about gender. We're here to talk about the economy, and it is destroyed under that fake feminist prime minister. So again, if she is not a token, will she stand up to him and say, no, I will abide by my $40 billion deficit guardrail to help this economy get back on track and save Canadians' lives?
Mr. Speaker, that woman might feel like a token, but I never do. I earned my seat in this House of Commons, and I'm proud of it, Mr. Speaker. And you know why they don't like numbers, Mr. Speaker? Because the numbers don't speak in their favor. There are 30% of these seats taken by women, Mr. Speaker. Fully 17% of those are here over on this side. More than half of the women elected are Liberals, Mr. Speaker, and the other half are the rest of the parties combined. So they should do their job, Mr. Speaker, as parties and get more women to run.
Isn't it crazy how there are still people in the world who think that you should hire somebody based on gender or looks or whatever, how they can do a good job just because they fit into some little box that they've just created. It's just so stupid. And you could see the intelligence level of the Conservatives versus the intelligence level of the Liberals there. The Conservatives, they're talking about, being qualified for the job and being, intelligent and being able to do the job, where all the Liberals are concerned about is the numbers, how many fit into this category. And it's no wonder that our country is going downhill so badly when you have people who think like that, when you have people who think that the only thing that qualifies you for the job is your gender. And then, of course, we have Mr. Fake Feminist himself saying stupid crap like this.
No, it shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
So, with that statement, this fake feminist that we have running our country into the ground, he's poking at Donald Trump. He goes down and grovels to Mar-a-Lago one week, and then the next week he's just poking the bear. What a goof. I think he might as well just go ahead and change his pronouns and just announce himself as what he is, which is not very much. He's a fake feminist for sure, which with his attacks on all of the ladies that he put into different positions. And some of those ladies were well qualified and did a good job, with like Jody Wilson-Raybould, and then he just dumps all over her. it's all identity politics, and it's something that we can't afford in this country. We can't afford. No country can afford that, and it starts to get really, really tired after a while when all you hear from him is this BS. And you'd think that by now he would clue in that Canadians and the world is over that. And we've been over that for, I would say a good year or so now. And we should have never gotten to that point where it was all identity politics to begin with. It was always a bad idea. But we have this, with all this ultra liberal, people in power trying to run us into the ground. I don't know. You have this crap all the time, and with him, we just have such a loser in charge who's doing all this stuff to our country and hiring people not based on merit but based on gender. Well, what can we expect? We can't really expect to get very far as a country. And that's one of the reasons why I think he's running us closer and closer to a merger with the United States. And as I say, I wouldn't mind it. I think that it would actually be a good thing, but I know a lot of Canadians disagree. And I think it's good to be able to disagree and be polite about it, but it doesn't look like the Liberals are ever really too polite about it. Them and the NDP. So I don't know. It to me it seems like it's inevitable, but what will happen will happen. I think though that when Trudeau, he's picking these fights with the stupid things he says, and Elon said that he was an insufferable tool. I would say an insufferable fool, a useless tool, or a useless fool as well, because he's just doing everything he can to ruin us, and he's not making it any better. When he picks a fight with the most powerful nation in the world, economically speaking, and militarily speaking as well, but that's neither here nor there, other than the fact that there are a lot of Americans who are cluing into the fact that we're not pulling our weight as far as NATO goes, as far as the protection of North America goes, and we have to really pull up our socks here. And we're not in danger of being taken over for sure, at least not not unless we get attacked by another country. But if another country did attack us, for sure we would be part of the United States within no time at all, because the United States would not put up with having a hostile nation north of the border. Although one could argue that with Trudeau at the helm, we are somewhat hostile. So I don't know why sometimes I don't know why they put up with our crap, to be honest with you, with our politicians. I realize that, for the most part, the Americans who visit Canada like it here, and they don't have any hard feelings towards us. But there are so many Americans who've never been to Canada, even those who live fairly close to the border, and a lot of Americans just think that we should become another few states, and I don't blame them. Economically, we would be a superpower. Actually, get that book of Diane Francis's. There's actually, she proposes more than one option for merging, and one would be actually a shared currency. And a shared currency would actually be another way for us to pull ourselves out of being so far behind the U.S. economy. So I think that is something that we could look at. And also a shared currency prior to a merger would be the best way to go, like a step in the right direction, because we need to get on equal footing, I would say. So that's my my kind of outlook there. So let's go back. I've been kind of glancing and following the chat a little bit here. Let's see. Okay, so going back to the start of this session. Did I freeze up? Have I frozen up? Okay, looks like I did freeze for a second there. Okay, thank you, Brad, for that. Hello, Liz and Ruth. I don't think I said hello to you guys before. Monique. Oh my God, my computer is just being terrible today. I don't know what's going on. Hello, Tracy. Okay. Trudeau governs Canada anyway, says when he swears in to be the king monarchy. Okay, Marigold. I think he actually believes that he is the ruler. I don't think he understands that he works for us. But that's just my kind of view on him. The way I see it, he doesn't treat us like we're the ones that are paying his salary. Trudeau is a she. Sophie is a he. Okay, Marigold. Yeah. James, how you doing? And Faye. I do like the American Constitution as well, and I think that it has more teeth than ours. And I think it has more teeth because it's been around longer and it's more respected and it's not watered down. And I know somebody mentioned the Section 15.2, and I've mentioned this in previous videos. Section 15.2. Okay, looks like I've lost my chat. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Yeah. Looks like I've lost the chat. Or did I? Okay. No, it just popped back in for some reason. Yeah, my computer. I think this is all the problems I'm having tonight is because I have a very old computer. So I lost my train of thought there when everything kind of started going haywire on me. But looks like my memory has caught back up. So that's good. Yeah, so Section 15.2, BT Lee says that it is one of the things that has messed us up real good. And I believe that because it qualifies equality. Like, we start off with equality, and then 15.2 says that the government can do whatever they want and ignore equality. And all they just said, basically, they just say, well, it's to ameliorate the disadvantages of disadvantaged groups, or however they put it, which is a fancy way of saying that they can do whatever they want regardless of 15.1, which I don't agree with. Yeah, Monique and Jennifer was saying he does talk a little bit weird, doesn't he, sometimes? Yeah, I wish Canadians knew that his borrowing spending is what's called odious debt. He's spending us into oblivion. He doesn't understand economics. I don't think any of the Liberals really do. His father didn't either, or at least the man who paid the nanny to raise him didn't, because he was the same it's been 30 years or so, or almost 40 years, I guess, since he was in charge. So we have to, when we look back at the damage that the first Trudeau did, it's surprising that Canadians have such short memories. As I was saying to a colleague of mine when Justin was running, that it was going to be terrible for the economy, and he ended up voting for Justin still. I don't know why, but it's, some people you can't tell or you can't explain things to. They just won't believe you. So hello, Eric, Tracy, okay, 69-cent Canadian peso. And that's one thing, Jennifer, that I think one of the reasons why we need a shared currency. We got to get on the same page. A North American currency would be the best thing for, I think, this country, in my opinion. Okay, so the chat kept up for you guys. It stopped. I had to restart it for me. Yeah, like we look at some of the laws in the States. The criminal laws are a little bit heavier, but one thing about the U.S. is the laws are the criminal law is done on a state-by-state basis. I'm not sure I like that as much as having one law throughout the land, but I think that I don't think it would be terrible. It's just going from jurisdiction to jurisdiction may be a little bit confusing, because you go from a free state like Tennessee or Texas, and then you end up in New York or California, and then all of a sudden you're breaking the law that you didn't know exists because for whatever reason. And there have been situations where people have thought they've done everything that they needed to do, and they've carried a firearm into the state of New York, and they've been arrested, even though they were following the laws set out or the rules set out by the ATF. So it's that is a bit of an issue, but I do like the autonomy of the states, and I think that is one of the things that looks good to me when you think about how the states have just a little bit more autonomy, and the power is decentralized just a little bit more, but you still have that overriding federal body when it comes to the big things, the big money, like the military and whatnot. So so the new gun ban puts me out of business. Not really, because I actually think that everybody should still get their PAL and apply for it now, because when the Conservatives get in, the floodgates are going to open, and everybody who has been putting it off is going to want to get their PAL, which I think is I think it would be good, and and I'll be able to you know what, I don't even actually want to buy any more guns. I actually have probably some people would say too many guns. I don't think that's actually a thing, but I do encourage people to at least learn about it, and learning about it doesn't mean you necessarily have to go buy a gun, but it's one of those things where I think I don't like. It's like these people in Ottawa. They're making these rules, and most of them have no clue what they're doing. They don't have a clue what the laws are, and they don't have their license. And a lot of these anti-gun groups, those people don't have licenses either. They're just anti-gun, and they don't realize what we have to go through to get a firearm in Canada. And one of the things that is kind of a good thing over the U.S. is once you have your firearms license in Canada, provided that the government hasn't made things illegal or prohibited in the meantime, is when we're living in a country that you can still buy guns, it makes buying a gun easier having that license. Some might even say it's easier than the U.S. because you don't have to go and get a NICS check every time. You don't have to pay that money to get a NICS check, and I'm not sure how much they charge. I'm sure they charge something to fill out the paperwork, whether it's $20, $50, $100, I don't know, but they do have to pay that NICS check or get it done every time they go in, where we pay once every 5 years to get our license renewed, and then it's just a little bit easier, I think. But that's just my opinion on that. So that was what I had tonight, and kind of gone through the chat while it was up, and it didn't kind of crap out on me there. So I'm going to call it there for a night, and maybe relax, watch a episode of Gunsmoke on DVD, and maybe have a little sip of whiskey, and I will hopefully get a few more videos up, although time is running out for Parliament this session, so I don't know how much I'll do, but it will give me a chance to get my to get some work done on the house, which I need to do. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend coming up in a couple of days, and I think tomorrow is the last full day of Parliament. I got to check. I don't know what's happening on Monday. I didn't see anything on the schedule, but if there's anything happening on Monday, it's probably the last day. But I will check and see, and of course Trudeau can't keep himself out of trouble, so there'll be lots of things to comment on in the next little while. But we'll see you, and we still got, I think, one more or two more shows before Christmas, at least one more show. So everybody, have a great rest of your week, and good night, everyone.
You've been watching the Northwest Cavalryman Show. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share with your friends and on social media. May God bless you. And if you're a liberal crybaby, bless your heart. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday.